episode of the CYF Podcast is brought to you by the Niagara Falls Ryerson Innovation Hub. Thank you so much for letting us use your amazing podcast studio located right here in downtown Niagara Falls. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the CYF Podcast, the show where we go behind the scenes to give you tips and tricks to help you create your future. On today's episode, I'm joined by one of my absolute best friends in the whole wide world, and I'm very excited for him to share his story, where he's came from, and where he's currently doing today, being a full-time DJ and music producer. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my best friend as the alias ZABO, but as I know him as Dan ZABO. Welcome to the CYF Podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'll give myself a clap too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Yeah.
Thanks for having me, bro.
So Dan, I guess for people who don't know, I'm gonna try to get through this without laughing because there's so much. Dan and I are super close.
Yeah.
Very very close.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit of a backstory. You're a DJ producer, kind of where you started, where the first idea of music became of interest for you, and kind of where you are now today.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a pretty long story, so I'll try and keep it concise.
Yeah, we'll go to the spark notes, and then we'll jump in with questions.
Okay. Yeah. So I first got into music in high school. I wanted to learn guitar because my dad was always in bands.
Yeah.
And you and I ended up in some bands together.
We did.
I just wanted to be a rock star.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I played bass a little bit. I played guitar a little bit. I even sang in a band for us.
Yeah.
So that's
we did. Oh my gosh.
So that's where it started. And then later into high school, I was really getting into dance music, just listening to it. I really started loving it. And by the end of high school, going into university, I was thinking about maybe I should start making this stuff. And my brother Cam, Cam,
yeah.
He challenged me. He's like, you should download Ableton, which is the program I use to make music. He's like, we should both download it because he used to make music. He's like,
Cam used to make music?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't even know that either.
I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to make dance music years before I did, and he's like, you can make a better song. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm so down for a challenge. And so I downloaded. This was in 2012. This is the summer after you and I graduated high school, going into university. So I downloaded Ableton, and I started just fucking around with it. Can I swear on this?
You can swear on here.
Okay. Yeah. I started fucking around with it, and just watched so much YouTube. Made my first song, and dude, when I made this first song, okay, this is so embarrassing.
I love it.
Okay, this is so embarrassing.
That's great.
I named. Okay, first of all, it took me a long time to make. It took me probably a month to make this song. I named the song.
Would you name? I don't even remember now.
I named it Famous.
Famous.
Because
you wanted to be famous?
Well, worse. I thought it was the one. I thought it was the one that was gonna make me famous, bro.
Up, yeah.
Oh my god.
And turns out it wasn't. There's another one that did pop up. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. So I made the song Famous, and then Cam never ended up making a song, and I kind of just took off running with it. I fell in love with it so fast because I love dance music so much, and it was just so fun to express myself and see what I can do with it. So I really started to lean into that at the start of university. I was going to a lot of dance music shows at that time. I know Frosh Week of our first year, I believe it was Steve Angelo that was playing.
Yeah, it was.
He was one
we went to that.
Yeah, he's one of the dudes in Swedish House Mafia. Yeah. And when I saw him on stage, I was kind of just making music first, but when I saw him on stage, I'm like, oh shit, I got to get into DJing too. And it kind of goes hand in hand.
Was that your moment? Was that your moment of I'm doing this?
That was the moment when I decided I want to start DJing as well. And I knew it would have came to that eventually, but when I saw him on stage, that was the first big dance show I was ever at. And dude, everyone was going nuts, and I was like, that must be so fun for him to be on that stage. And that's when I decided to get into DJing. Bought my first DJ controller for $200, this little shitty one, and started learning how to DJ, but also spending a lot of time making music, spending way more time producing music and making music than DJing. Mm-hmm. 2 years into university, I'm making so much music. I'm so into it, and I'm not really doing. I'm doing okay in school, but I'm losing all interest.
And this is when you're still at Brock.
I'm still at Brock at this time, and come exams in April, second semester.
Let's just put the water down
sure.
on the ground for a second. Yeah, I just want to get the way. Yeah.
Come exam time in April, I'm just I came to the decision. I'm like, I think I want to like drop out and pursue music.
Yeah.
And not like just drop out. I found a music school in London called OI Art. I heard about it through like a mutual friend or someone who knew someone who went there. And it's like a school. It's one program, 60 students. They all take the same program. And it's all like audio related. It's not like just production. It's everything.
Yeah.
So that was my pitch to my parents when I was like, I want to drop out. I want to do this. And they were like, Dan, don't do it.
Steve was probably more chill though when it
Actually,
no, he wasn't.
Actually, he was like
Papa
against
Steve,
it, right? I mean, like they're like super happy for me now, but at the time, I mean, you can't blame them. Like,
of course,
it's kind of like a weird, like it's like quite a big switch and kind of like
because
totally
you were in Kent.
I was in kinesiology, yeah, and a couple people were like supportive, and I don't fault anyone for being like, Dan, you shouldn't do it. You should at least. They weren't telling me don't do it. They were saying at least finish kinesiology. You're like you have 2 more years.
Yeah.
And I said no. I was like, no, I'm doing this. Like, I'm sorry, I got to do this. So I went to this school in London for a year. It's just a year program. Graduated and had a blast. Lo and behold, there wasn't a lot that I learned about music, like dance music production. So to be honest, I really didn't learn anything really that like. Sure, like some
was
like
related to what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I learned some foundational and like some really helpful things about audio and music.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like, I thought I was gonna learn a little bit about dance music production. I didn't learn a thing.
Right.
But it was the first year of school in my entire life that I really enjoyed going to school. So it was just like such a fun year, and like I would do it all over again if I could. Like it was just like so fun. After that, I moved straight to Toronto because I got an internship. At a studio that does audio for commercials and stuff. All while this is happening, I'm just making a lot of music. I'm like,
what was the studio in Toronto again? What was that?
It was called Wanted Sound and Picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did audio for like commercials and TV shows.
Yeah.
Got an internship. I was also serving at a restaurant just to make some extra money because I wasn't getting paid at the internship.
Yeah.
But I was just like making so much music. I was like, even if I worked like a 12-hour day, I would go home and make music. Eventually, I got let go from the internship. It was between me and someone else. They decided to go with someone else, which was honestly a blessing in disguise because it gave me way more time to work on music. I was still working at the restaurant. The good thing about working at a restaurant, you can make a little bit of money off tips, so you don't need to work a 40-hour work week in order to like keep yourself financially stable.
For sure.
So I was spending even more time making music at that point. And I started to see a little increase in streams. I think like right after I got let go from the internship, it was the first time that one of my songs on SoundCloud passed like 1,000 streams.
And you're like, this
dude,
is huge.
It was like the best moment of my life.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend at the time, Carly, she made like cupcake. I came home from work and she made like cupcakes spelling out like, I think it was 2,000 plays. She's like, 2,000 plays, congratulations.
That's so nice.
Super, super cute. So it was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
So I just kept working on it. And I mean, that was like 5-6 years ago. Fast forward to a little further on in life, I'm still working at restaurants, just like on my grind, like trying to make things work, and it's like I'm growing slowly, and it's just like it's not taking off nearly as fast as I thought it would when I started, or even like a couple years prior. I always like set my expectations not like too high, but I'm like super ambitious, and I set some goals for myself, but none of it came like at the speed I thought it would. A part of me was like getting a little discouraged, but I knew like my main passion was the music. It wasn't about the money or the fame. Sure, that would be great, but you know, I'm doing what I love, so I'm just gonna keep grinding on this. In 2019, I got my first little, I guess you could call it kind
Taste of fame.
Yeah, kind of like almost like a big break.
Is that when Breathe blew up?
No, we'll get into that because that was after. So
right.
In 2019, I got an email from this booking agent in China saying, hey, like, ZABO's really popular here.
Yeah.
And we want to bring him out for a 3-show tour. And, you know, we get kind of weird emails and stuff like this. People, like, promising things all the time. And I've learned to not get my hopes up. I honestly, like, until there's, like, a contract signed or anything, I try to just keep my emotions, like, super neutral, not get too high.
Yeah, you're pretty good at
low.
that. You are pretty good at that.
Yeah. It's been, like, a learning thing because I have had my heart broken quite a few times. Of, like, just setting expectations too high. So we got this email and we're like, okay, let's see this through. I don't really know. And sure enough, like, the contract comes in and we sign it and it's official. Like, I'm going to go to China to play. And this was actually going to be my first ever show as ZABO.
Ever.
When I was like in university still, I was DJing some like random bars and stuff. But it wasn't like a ticketed show. People weren't coming to see ZABO. It's just like a random club.
Just go there just for the hang.
So it's totally different. I wasn't playing my music or like the style of music I would play as ZABO. I was playing like pop music. Mm-hmm. So it's totally different. This is going to be my first show as ZABO, and I'm flying to China for it.
Right.
And I did that, and it was going well. And I didn't even know, but like one of my songs, it was my second release as ZABO called Drown. That was the song that song blew up in China, which was the reason that I kind of got some popularity there. I had no idea. It had been big for like a year, and I had no idea. Right. This was so crazy, and I never even like thought about, we're so focused on like, because we're in North America, we're focused on like growing our North American.
Yeah, totally.
We don't even really think about the other things. This is kind of just like out of nowhere. I was so surprised, but super grateful and super random. So I went to China, and it went well, and then a couple months later, they brought me back for another show, and then like 2 months after that, I got an offer for like a 5-show tour, and it was like kind of like, my bad. It was kind of like a good amount of money, and I was still working at like restaurants at the time. It was like a good enough amount of money that I was like, I'm going to quit my job.
Yeah.
And I did, because it was just like, it was enough money where I'm like, I feel like this is my chance to like go all in.
Yeah.
And so I did that tour. It was great. Played a couple more shows. I went to China like 5 or 6 times in the last half of 2019. It was all happening so fast.
Crazy.
And I was like on the ups, and like, this is one of the times I kind of got burned, but like, who would have saw this coming? Like, I was like so ready to like really be touring heavy and really being able to like set up myself financially from this China stuff. It was like really looking like that, and it was growing.
It was
very rapidly.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
So I knew about it first because China got it first, of course, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, of course, like, I'm not trying to make it all about me. Like, I know, like, everyone suffered from it, but I was just like,
this is your story, and this is why we do the CYF podcast.
Yeah. So I hear about it in January because they were like, "Oh, we're gonna bring you back." And I just played a show New Year's Eve going into 2020 in China.
I remember that.
At this really big festival. It was fucking dope.
Insane.
And then my management in China, we were talking about bringing me back for like another tour in February. Like, just let's keep it going. We're like, great. And it was right after that the COVID happened, and so we were like, shit. Like, okay, I guess this is gonna be put on pause. Who knows how long it'll be? Maybe it'll be a few weeks.
Yeah.
A few months. No. It's still happening there. I mean, it's still happening here, but clubs are open here in North America. People are pretty much back to their normal life.
Yeah. You've toured outside China though. You played in Houston.
Yeah, I played in Houston.
You've had some shows recently.
Austin. Yeah. I've played some shows in Canada recently. My first show in Canada was it was summer of last year in Calgary. That was my first show in Canada, and then I actually went back. I did Vancouver this past October. So, like, I was playing shows in China in 2019, and I still wasn't getting booked in North America.
Yeah.
COVID did happen, but even after, like, kind of things opened back up, I still didn't have, like, the fan base or, like, the notoriety to have, like,
for sure.
Have a lot of, like, promoters, like, interested in booking me. But in the past, couple months, I played Calgary again. I played Thunder Bay. I have Edmonton coming up in 2 weeks, and then I have Toronto, which is my hometown.
Yeah.
My debut show there on June 3rd. So I have quite a few shows recently and coming up.
Yeah.
So that's great. But yeah, to answer your question about Houston, I played Houston, Austin, and Orlando. Also,
I forgot about the Orlando one.
Yeah, it was also in like the last half of 2019. It was amongst all the China tours. I was like I was flying all over the place. It was sick. But yeah, so that all stopped with COVID. That kind of brings us to here in terms of shows. Now, you mentioned my song Breathe earlier.
Yeah.
Something really cool happened.
Let's go into the story with that. I think people would really like to know a little bit more about that and what it takes for something to just, because it kind of like blew up, not like it like just randomly, and this just goes to show, I think, like one of the things why TikTok is such a good platform when it comes to getting new music out there is why so many artists are getting discovered on there. So please tell us the story.
Yeah. So I released my song Breathe in 2018, and I always really loved this song. I thought it was my best song. It was definitely my favorite song. It was one of my top stream songs on Spotify, but definitely not the top one.
And how many streams does it have now?
It has on Spotify around 14 million.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah,
that's my best friend.
Yeah. So I released it in 2018, and it maybe had 350,000 streams by 2 years after I released it, which was October 2020. And that was actually pretty decent streaming numbers for me. It was definitely one of my top ones. But in October of 2020, this is 6 months into COVID or whatever, I start getting DMs from some fans and even friends of mine that are this TikTok used your song Breathe, and it's blowing up the TikTok. I'm like, oh, sick. I don't really think much of these things.
Yeah.
These things kind of happen sometimes, so I'm like, oh, that's dope. And then it starts happening a lot more. A lot more. And honestly, at the time, I didn't even have TikTok. I try to stay off a lot of social media because you can just get locked into that. You can spend way too much time on it. So I didn't even have TikTok, but I was getting sent all these videos, and it was happening more and more frequently. And so I looked into it. I'm and my management looked into it. They're like, oh shit, your song's doing really well, and it was gaining so many streams on Spotify. That's when we really knew when it was blowing up, because it was getting 30,000 streams a day. Keep in mind, it was at 350,000.
Yeah.
It just got that in 10 days.
Yeah.
Once it started blowing up on TikTok.
Crazy. The virality.
Yeah. And it's so weird because it all happened organically.
That's the best.
We definitely did promotion when we released it and everything. It did a marketing plan and everything we do for every release.
Yeah.
But this happened so randomly, and I don't know what one was the catalyst for it. And even still, there was not a single trend that people were using the song for. It was the most random shit.
It was, yeah. Lots of random
Yeah, I think the first ones I saw were I don't get TikTok, man. Some shit just blows up and I don't understand it.
Right? Yeah, honestly.
You know?
Right? It's crazy.
It was this just anime, black and white anime or something. It was just clips of anime, and they just had the song over it. And it had millions of views on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is dope. I don't get it. This is dope. Right?
Yeah, right?
So yeah, it honestly, it kept going. I think it became on TikTok, when you're using the search function, it shows you the most used songs in different genres and stuff. And I'm pretty sure it was the top one for quite a few weeks.
Right.
Which was insane.
Do we know how many times it's been used on TikTok?
Well, here's the thing, how TikTok works. The official song has been used 200,000 times or something. Right. But there's I don't know how some people get it, this happens. I think if you're using the song Breathe, but you're also there's another audio kind of
overlay
over it.
Okay.
It'll have whatever the video title is, but it'll say contains music by ZABO.
Right.
Breathe. And I'm pretty sure I've looked into all these. If you add them all up, it's closer to a million videos.
Yeah.
It's been used. Yeah. So that was so dope, and because of that, my socials kind of grew a little, but the main thing was my Spotify was growing. I was getting so many streams on it, and it also carried over to my other songs. So
kind of got a snowball effect with everything else. That
exactly. And the same with Apple Music and YouTube as well, but the main one was definitely Spotify. And I wasn't even using TikTok, and I think I got 10,000 followers just from people because I think TikTok added this feature when I don't know when they added it, but when you click the song, if it's from an actual artist, it'll link their profile. And so that's what they did, and I started getting followers from that. But yeah, it was just so crazy. Dude, I know some people don't like to believe in luck, but and I'm not discrediting the hard work I've put in or anything. I did have to make that song, and same with Drown, the one that blew up in China. I had to make those songs.
Yeah, for sure.
These are two crazy things that aren't that common.
I know, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it's how insane is that for someone who wants to, or an aspiring DJ or producer. I feel they could really take some good value from knowing this, and it's not just like, oh, you put this on and all of a sudden it just blew up. It's like,
no,
you really didn't start this until like just after high school, you know what I mean, right? And then I remember like you went through all the process, and you went to school, and then you got educated with it, and then you were putting in countless hours doing
so many
all
hours.
that, and now you're teaching audio too,
now
as well, you know what I mean?
I am, yeah.
So I feel like there's a method to the madness.
Definitely.
You know
like,
I mean?
I think, like, I feel like, and I hear other, like, entertainment people talk about luck as well. And a lot of people do say, like, there is, like, a little bit of luck that you need in order to, like...
When opportunity meets preparation. Is that the quote?
That is. And that's
right?
my favorite quote. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah.
And it totally is. Like, you know, if I didn't learn how to make music or anything, or if I didn't hone my skills enough to make a song like I did, then the opportunity wouldn't have presented itself. Yeah. But like, dude, the fact that it, like, both for Drown, the one that like got big in China, and Breathe, both of these songs got popular 2 years after. Yeah. 2 years each after they were released, and I had nothing to do with it.
And as an artist, like, you don't think like 2 years later, like, a song is gonna blow up.
But you like usually see like how it does in the first week or two, and you can kind of guess the projection of that song, which I think maybe isn't like the best for your like mental health, but that's just how it is.
I feel like artists like always do that. You know what I mean? Like, they're always like, okay, if it doesn't do well with the first little bit, then they're like, okay, we'll see what happens with it.
Exactly. Yeah. So those two things, man, it's got to be a little bit of luck in there. The algorithm was nice to me. Started pushing my shit a little more. Who knows?
Yeah.
I literally don't know how either of them blew up, but they did somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to mental health, you can get your CYF merch at CYFproject.com. We donate a portion of the proceeds towards a scholarship fund for a student who wants to study mental health education at the post-secondary level. So thank you so much for supporting, and we'll get back to the program. This episode is also brought to you by the Black Sheep Lounge, home of Black Sheep Roasters and some amazing local coffee. You can get 20% off your order using promo code CYF20 when you go visit their website, blacksheepniagara.com. Now, back to the program. Switching gears now, I have to ask you a question. When, with everything with the virality and everything that's kind of like exploded and kind of gotten you to, with your work ethic, gotten you to where you are now, I have to ask you, when's the last something you did something for the first time?
Shit. Okay, the last time.
You did something for the first time. Something you haven't done before. You've played shows. You did would you say, like, hitting over 300,000 or 350,000 or whatever monthly listeners you're at? That could be something.
Okay, well, I did get my first tattoo a few months ago.
You did?
Yeah.
That's
actually,
great. Yes.
That's so funny. Actually, I should talk about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when Breathe passed 10 million streams, I always wanted to get like tattoos, but I was always like, I don't want to get something I'm gonna regret.
I remember that, yeah. You were always
and I never wanted to like I didn't put that much thought into it, and I was like, I don't want to regret anything. Mm-hmm. Breathe passed 10 million streams. I'm like, this is a very cool milestone.
Yeah.
And the line in, like, the vocal line in that song is breathe in, breathe out. And it's just a cool line in general. You can interpret it so many different ways.
Totally.
So I don't know if the camera can see this. Hold on. So
yeah. There we go.
I got breathe in, breathe out.
That's great.
Over here?
I love that.
You're good, yeah. You're good now.
I love that.
Yeah.
So
that was the first, like, maybe
first tattoo.
That was one of the last times that I did something for the first time. Yeah. Got a tattoo, and I have another one.
Yeah, for sure. And you got a Seek Discomfort tattoo.
I did.
Yeah.
I love.
What made you so impulsively decide to go get it? Obviously, we both love Yes Theory.
As you know, like, I love Yes Theory, as do you. And their brand, their motto is like getting yourself outside your comfort zone, which I think is really important for anyone. You can you grow as a person when you push yourself outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I really resonate with that, like that motto and that aspect of life. So I just got it tattooed on me.
I love that. And how long now have you been a full-time, like, self-employed, would you say, musician, DJ, producer now?
So, like I said before, I quit my job in October of 2019. That's when I went on that 5-show tour to China, and that was the last time I had like another job besides music. During COVID, because I wasn't touring and playing shows, I was teaching music to this one guy who reached out. I think it was probably around that same time he reached out. He was a fan of me. He's from China, and he knew I was like really doing well in China. He reached out and asked if I did production lessons, and I didn't at the time, but I said, yeah, for sure I do. And he's actually become like a good friend of mine. Casper, if you're watching, I love you, buddy.
Yeah. Shout out Casper.
Yeah, shout out to Casper. So I was doing a lot of production lessons during COVID, soaking in some of that CERB as well to get me by. And once Breathe started blowing up, I started making a decent amount of money off royalties. So that's also like been helping since then. So that's been dope.
And as an independent artist now with a management team or two management teams, one in North America and one over in Asia, could you kind of say, you don't have to give exact numbers, but what would be like a rough projection that you could say that you've made in royalties over the last little bit? Like, is it over under? How about I say this, you guess if it's over under, okay? Because I want this to be educational for people that they can actually do this, you know? And obviously, we know with Spotify, streaming and stuff, they don't really pay out as much, but if you get placements and stuff with sync opportunities, more stuff can come to it. I would say, right? Yeah. Absolutely.
So, that's another thing I want to talk about after. Yeah. Remind me. Go ahead, but talk about sync after.
Okay, for sure. I would say if the amount of money overall through your royalties, is it more than $15,000?
You mean just ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I won't say the actual number, but the royalties I've made in the past year is enough to keep me like financially like stable, and I'm not living a lavish life. I don't like.
But you're living enough to do what you love.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the main thing that I was always like hoping for, is that if I can do music as a job, even if I'm not raking in millions or whatever, if I can like, of course, like I would love to get there. I would love to just like grow so much that it would be like that. And it's not really about the money. It's just about like growing so much. And it's just like milestones and stuff like that. For
sure. And before we jump into your sync stuff and those opportunities and what that kind of looks like for you right now, and we'll explain more what that is. The one thing that we try to do on this show is we want to try and get like valuable life lessons from guests such as yourself of what's like a habit or a routine or something that they've done that's kind of helped propel them or given them that sort of like trajectory to where they are now. So if you can kind of shed some light on those habits or what you've done to keep your mental health, your physical health, or all that kind of stuff, I think we'd love to hear it.
I actually have quite a few things to say about this. So the one thing that I think if you're pursuing a passion or something, you're pursuing something that you want to turn into a career, the first thing is that you have to be passionate about it, because if you're just doing it for the money or the fame and it's taking longer than you expect, because it always does. Well, always. I'm sure there's situations, but it always takes longer.
9 times out of 10, I would say. Yeah, for
sure. So if you're not passionate about it, you're probably not going to last doing it. So you really have to be like passionate about what you're doing. You really have to love it. That's like the first thing. The second thing is being consistent. You know, working on your craft every day, whatever it is. If you can't do it every day, like you got to put a few hours in every week, and like that goes hand in hand. If you're passionate about it, you'll probably do that. So being consistent, working on your craft like as often as you can. Like, of course, like you want a social life and like have your social life and do all your shit, but you got to be able to like set aside time, because we're all busy. We're all so fucking busy. We're all busy. We got work. We've got
relationships,
school, relationships, whatever. So there's only so many hours in a day and in a week, but you got to find time to like work on your craft. You know, like the 10,000 hour rule. Yep. I don't know who it's by, but that's like a very like famous rule where you got to put in 10,000 hours to become a master in your craft. And so,
how long have you been doing? How long would you say you've been doing it consistently for now?
Well, I've been doing it for like 10 years, and I'd say when I moved to Toronto is when I really started doing it a lot. Like when I was still working at a restaurant, I was maybe doing, if I had to guess, like 15 to 20 hours a week of music. And now I'm doing it for like at least 40 hours a week. Like so much. Yeah. So that's one thing. In terms of mental health, I think,
I know you're big on this too.
I am. I've definitely dealt with some like mental health issues in the past, and still do sometimes. But some things that I think can benefit you is getting enough sleep. I think sleep is very important. Yeah. Getting exercise. It doesn't have to be like crazy workouts, but if you're like getting your heart rate up a little bit, you're gonna release some endorphins, some feel good, hormones and all of that. That's very important. And your diet, actually. So
I know you're big into this.
Yeah. So I was actually right around that time I was going to China. I had a really unhealthy diet. I was drinking a lot. I was just like not living healthily, and my mental health was like suffering. I didn't really put two and two together at the time. But when I switched up my diet and was like eating clean and exercising, it's crazy how fast I started feeling better. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. With like a clean diet, don't get me wrong, I still love pizza and burgers and like to drink some beers every once in a while. But like my main routine is like just like eating healthy and drinking lots of water, getting good sleep, and exercising. Those things I think are so imperative to your mental health. Yeah. And like I know it personally because I like wasn't always doing that, and now I am, and I'm in such a better headspace. Yeah. Yeah. So those are definitely like the things I'd suggest.
I love that. That's great. And let's shift gears now to the sync opportunities and what you're doing now. So we can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So what sync and licensing in music is when a commercial or a TV show or a movie wants to use one of your songs or something you made as like the music for their shit. Yep. And I recently got reached out to by a company that has composers and producers like myself make trailer music, and they have this big database where movie studios, will look through the database for their trailers. It's just for trailers. They also have like another sync thing, but what I've been doing recently, which has been very fun, is writing trailer music, and I'm supposed to finish like 18 songs. I got this deadline and everything, so it's been taking up a lot of my time, but it's so fun. And I think it's really cool to diversify yourself. I'm still doing music production, but it's totally separate from the ZABO stuff. It will not be released as ZABO. It has nothing to do with that. And it's kind of good to, diversify yourself and try and make income in different ways, have different streams of income. I know you're big on that too. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing recently. I've been writing music for trailers, and I'm still working on them. But so here's the thing: if none of them get licensed, then I don't make any money. But this is the thing, like in the entertainment industry, you have to bet on yourself.
You have to bet on yourself.
And so that's what I'm doing, and I have to be confident in what I can do. And I'm spending a lot of hours doing this. So hopefully it works out. And if not, oh well, at least I gave it a shot.
For sure. And I think you'll keep going until something does happen. In some capacity.
Exactly. So that's been like really, really fun for me lately.
I love it. Could you tell us one of the craziest moments that has happened on tour at a show? Meeting a fan or an experience like that. I know we've had plenty of conversations offline. But one that you could share for as like a really as a moment where like you're like, wow, like this is crazy.
I got a great story.
Let's go, baby.
This was actually, and like it's so crazy. When I was going to China, I'm not like super famous. Like I'm not that, but in like dance music, like a lot of people knew my songs. So it's like, and here or like in North America, it wasn't really like that. So it was kind of like crazy to see people like fanboy and fangirling over me. The day I got to China for the very first time, I was in this giant like group chat with a bunch of fans. My Chinese management suggested they have this app called WeChat.
Yes, WeChat.
And I was like in a group with a bunch of ZABO fans, and I sent in the chat, I'm like, hey, I'm in Guangzhou today. If anyone wants to meet up or anything, I said something like that. And there was two guys that I had been messaging with prior on Instagram who had been messaging me like for a couple months before they even knew I was coming to China. It's crazy. Cool. And I happened to be going to their city first.
No way.
So they like brought me around the city, and we were at this random mall, and some guy found me. And he had a shirt with my name on it. He just made a shirt with my name.
He made ZABO merch.
Yeah, he did.
That's amazing.
And he like had me sign it, and it was just like that was such a like cool moment for me. Like that's never happened to me, of course. Yeah. It was just like so cool. That was like a really. It's not like a crazy story, but that was like a really special moment for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I remember when I recorded in a similar thing when I recorded in Abbey Road Studios, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm literally in the same room as like the fucking Beatles and like Pink, like it's like
insane, dude.
It's insane. It's just like I remember just like looking up there, and I'm like sitting behind the drums, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how the fuck did I get here? type thing.
So crazy.
And that's amazing for you to have that experience. And I know that there's plenty more to come.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I think right now I would like to say, what do you have coming up in the next little bit where people can check you out? And then where can people stay connected with you?
Yeah. So I touched on this before, but I have 2 shows coming up. When's this coming out, this episode?
We got to figure, it's going to be sometime before June.
Yeah. Okay. So I probably just played a show in Edmonton.
Yeah.
May 20th.
Yeah.
My debut show in Toronto, June 3rd. Those might have already happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then other than that, no shows lined up. We're getting some offers. We're trying to do something for the fall, like a little North American tour.
Nice. Great.
We'll see about that.
For sure.
Other than that, I have a couple more releases coming out before the summertime. I have an EP also on May 20th. Big day for me.
Big day. Yeah.
A 2-song EP. And then June 17th, another release. I've released quite a bit of music this year already. I think that'll be like my 5th or 6th release in June. So I'm taking a little break. And then come fall time, right back on it, shows and music and all that. I might drop something in the summer. We'll see. But other than that, you can stay connected with me I'm mostly active on IG. That's really like the main social.
ZABO Music.
Yeah, I will.
Yep.
Yeah, ZABO Music on all platforms, wherever you want to check me out. And wherever you stream your music, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, just search ZABO, ZABO.
That's great. And before we wrap this up, I want you to answer one more question. Yeah, right? No. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, fuck, bro. I'm going to have to dig deep for this. I mean,
something that really resonated with you or a piece of advice that really resonated with you. You're like, yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
This is going to help keep me going. What does that look like?
I think it was that everyone has their own path. And I think, everyone does this, but we always compare ourselves to others.
Yeah.
The best piece of advice
we so do that. We do that all the time.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah. Creatives, but just people in everyday life.
Yeah.
The best piece of advice I got was not to compare yourself to others and just understand that everyone has their own path. When you see someone doing like something like better than you in the same industry, or they're like growing faster, you can't let it get to you. You just have to understand, like, trust your own process, keep doing your shit, and eventually it'll happen for you if you just stay consistent, stay on it, and don't get discouraged. So that's definitely like the best piece of advice I got.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for today's episode of the CYF Podcast. Dan, thank you so much for coming by.
Of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe. We hope that you found this episode to be insightful, happy, and healthy, and we hope that it helps you create your future. Thanks so much for sticking around. We will see you in the next episode. Peace!
Peace!